Evelyn Linwood. Welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome. For those of you who don't know, I am a self-published author. I have one book out, Showing Silver, and I'm currently working on two projects. One is the sequel to Showing Silver, which I've been calling Project Gold here on this channel. I actually do have a title for it, but I'm not ready to reveal that. And then I'm also working on... Oh, I should specify that that is the only sequel to Showing Silver, so it's a duology, so then it'll be a complete work. And that will be coming out sometime this year. I'm hoping August or September, but don't hold me to that. It will definitely be this year, though. And then the other project I'm working on is the first of a new series. Ironically, it's much further along. I am working on my final developmental edit for that work. I've been calling it Project King here on the channel. Yeah, but that one will come after Project Gold. So, the reason I bring those up, they are relevant to today's video. First, I wanted to tell a little story. I mean, not a story, but my history with a very contentious piece of writing advice, which is that to kind of turn off your editor brain and just draft. Don't think about it. Just draft as fast as you can. And I've seen lots of versions of this advice. Probably the least questionable is you can't edit a blank page, but the way that I've heard it most often is don't stop, don't edit, keep drafting. So, when I first started taking writing seriously, and mind you, I'd been writing for most of my life because half my life. I started in middle school. It's been most of my life at this point, for sure. But I started taking it seriously in December of 2019. So, or like the last week of November. Yeah, because I heard about National Novel Writing Month, NaNo, and I was very excited to join, but I was too late. And then I found out that they have, they don't exist anymore, but they had April and July events. So, my first ever finished draft, I wrote 70,000 words in April of 2020, and I don't do that. That's not something that's like within my wheelhouse. I don't know how I did it then, other than things were shutting down. I had been taking some online classes, I had been taking some classes going back to school, and I was like one semester in, and then it went online, and I was like, say what? And I was not good at the online classes thing. I am a dinosaur. I like in-person things. I like writing in a notebook. I like being in person. So instead of doing the classes, I actually dropped out of that semester when I could still, retain some of the tuition. So I shifted my focus to writing, and that's like all I was doing was writing. Now, normally, if I have an idea that I'm loving and I'm in drafting mode, not in editing mode, I can sustainably write about 30,000 words a month. That is kind of a normal pace for me. But that 70,000, I was in full, I don't care if the words suck, I'm just putting them on the page. We're doing this. Everyone else around me was doing the same thing because it was one of the NaNo events, and that was kind of the attitude for the most part, was just get words on the page. You can fix them later. Which, for your first ever draft, for your first ever book, that is fantastic advice. People will tell you otherwise, but if you can shut off that part of your brain that's just like, but I need to fix this, but I need to fix that. If you can finish a complete draft of anything that is a novel length project, your kind of mental, the way you think about writing completely changes. Instead of, if I ever finish this book, it's when I finish this book, when I get there. Like, you've done it once, you know you can do it again. Now, did I have to completely 100% rewrite that book? Yes. That was draft 1 of Project King, and let me tell you, it was a hot mess. Like, not... It was bad. The prose itself wasn't the worst thing I've ever read, but like structurally speaking, I was just writing random stuff. I don't even know why I thought that was like a novel. I mean, I did still have aspects of the final version. So that's been through, at this point, 1 complete rewrite and then a major multi-round revision. And now it's on another major revision. That's what I'm working on. I'm calling it draft 4, but that's a loose definition of draft. Yeah. So that was my first experience following that piece of, like, write it, you can fix it later. I'm glad that I did. And I definitely, I believe that I have fixed it, but it definitely created way more work. So this is a piece of advice that you shouldn't follow blindly, but it doesn't mean that it's bad advice. It just means, take it with a grain of salt. So I have since done a ton of work on that project, so much that I started hating the project. And this was like my baby. This was my first ever full novel idea that I was like, oh, I'm going to write that in middle school. So that is a very near and dear to my heart project. And the fact that I was writing it so long that I started to dislike it says a lot. I love it again, don't get me wrong. It just needed time to sit. But I did definitely create more work for myself by following this piece of advice. However, fast forward to today. I have been working on Project Gold, the sequel to Showing Silver, the conclusion to that duology, for a full year. Actually, I think a little more than a year. Showing Silver came out May 9th of last year, I think it was. And I've been working on it ever since, and I have not made perfect progress the whole time. Especially in the spring and the summer, I was just like, I had actual writer's block. It was ridiculous. What I've been doing recently is I had been kind of perseverating about different scenes that I wanted to include, different ideas. And I'm not saying you can't edit an outline, but if you're not an outliner, if you are a discovery writer at your core, which I absolutely am, just thinking about what I'm going to be doing, what I'm trying to fix, is never, ever, ever going to get me there. And I was definitely doing that a lot. So in the last couple months, I've been kind of getting this onto the page, writing down a lot of notes, starting to really draft in earnest. So I am at 35,800 words, I believe, which is not... that's more than half of Showing Silver, but I do think Project Gold is going to be a little bit longer. It's probably going to be closer to 80,000 words, whereas Showing Silver was 60,000. So I'm not quite halfway there. Getting close to halfway, though. I can't wait. But I think that if I had just listened to this piece of advice, hey, you can't edit a blank page, which is what I was trying to do in my brain, I would have been a lot further along. And the plan is still finish the draft this month, hopefully, possibly next month if I'm being a little more realistic. But potentially this month. The goal is this month. If I finish the draft, then I will be on target to publish in August or September, hopefully. But definitely this year, no matter what. This is a hard line for myself that I am putting out there, because we're not waiting till 2027 for that one. No. Anyway. Yeah, so this piece of writing advice that I'm rambling about for 11 minutes now, sorry. Yeah, I'm just kind of coming to recognize that it is actually good advice. I have rebelled against it in the past for sure. You don't want to completely throw out any thoughts about, hey, is this good? Hey, am I going somewhere? You want to make sure that you're putting a cohesive story on the page. But at the same time, at a certain point, you just have to write it. You can't sit there revising chapter 1, which is what I used to do all the time specifically with Project King. I actually think I still have pretty much the same chapter 1 because I had already revised it 800 times. Yeah, but you can't just sit there and revise the first chapter, the first few chapters over and over and never write the rest of the book. And you can't just sit there and daydream your way through the same scene over and over again and never write it down. I mean, it could be entertaining for you, but there's no readers involved in that. So this is my kind of coming to terms with the fact that you can indeed not edit a blank page. And I wanted to share that with you guys, and just I know if you are a writer who is a pantser, that can be a little bit, it can be worse for us, I think, and again, I'm at the start of my career, so grain of salt with my opinions, obviously, because I'm not, people's ideas about writing change as they age. But that is, sorry, my husband interrupted. I am a little distracted. What was I saying? Yeah, so for us pantsers, I do think that it is a little bit more important to actually get the work from your head to the page. For outliners, I think they can spend a little more time kind of thinking it through. But again, in order to know what you are, I do think at some point you need to finish a draft. So make of that what you will. Let me know what you thought about my thoughts here. Do you have similar stories from your own writing past? And I'd love to hear any other piece of, is there a piece of writing advice that you struggled with but then found that it was actually relevant and helpful? I would love to hear about it in the comments. I think there's a lot of kind of generic writing advice that goes around, gets repeated by people who don't even fully understand what they're saying sometimes. I mean, sometimes they do, but so I think some of that has at least a seed of truth in it. And then some of it is just okay, you said that because you wanted the keyword, the phrase that is trending or whatever. Yeah, but thank you for watching if you made it this far. Actually, if you made it this far, will you put a heart emoji down below, just so that I know you watched to the end? Thank you. And I will see you in my next writing vlog.